Dr. Mohammed Eissa. Okay, so Dr. Eissa is trained academically in the fields of Arabic and Islamic studies with special focus on Islamic history and civilization in the traditional manner of Al-Azhar Institutes and the University of California, Los Angeles. He has teaching experience of over 50 years at institutions of higher education in the USA and Egypt, is an independent educational consultant in the fields of Arabic and Islamic studies, and has authored books and articles accordingly. So without too much of taking up too much more of your time, because I know everybody's so keen to hear from the speakers, can I hand over now to Mohammed Eissa?
God has endowed some people, and many of you have the eloquence of preaching and talking very eloquently. I don't have that gift. And also, being a teacher for over 50 years now, education has taken hold of me, and I look at things from educational point of view. You have been also blessed by expanding your knowledge and know about other faith. I think of those who have been deprived of that knowledge, and that's why my talk will be about education and about exposing others since childhood to be aware of religions and world religions and to know about religions. A few years ago, I was in a committee to review the curriculum of faith-based school when they teach world religion, if they do. Of course, Islamic schools don't really stress that in their schools, but I visited Jewish and Christian schools, Sunday schools, and reviewed the curriculum of them. And I was surprised really to see we try to find common ground. Every school is focusing on its faith. Then for this particular occasion, I tried to see what exactly is teaching about religion. And maybe I'm taking you a little bit away from your thinking by introducing this subject. Dr. Safi Qasas also in his presentation talked about misinterpretation arising from ignorance. Breed fear, and fear remains the greatest enemy of peace. The solution he thinks to create tools of enlightenment to educate and dispel ignorance. I take this as an entrance to talk about importance of education and how this subject is being discussed in the academia and non-academia and political arena as well. The American Academy of Religion guidelines for teaching about religion also set 3 premises that inform its project of teaching about religion. Literacy regarding religion is widespread in America. Fuel prejudice and antagonism can be diminished by teaching about religion in public schools using a non-devotional academic perspective called religious studies. From this particular point of view, the project of teaching about religion has been really on the table until it is formulated and a curriculum was designed, and it is in the books now. Whether it is effective, it is taken seriously, is another question. In Hendersonville story, the Hendersonville in 2014, Hendersonville High School in Florida, in Tennessee, I'm sorry, in Hendersonville, Tennessee, made a national news when it suspended a field trip to religious sites as part of an elective class in world studies. The elective, which has been taught at Hendersonville for a decade, includes a unit on world religion, covering 5 traditions: Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. In the past, students have visited a mosque and Hindu temple and synagogue without incident. This year, which is 2004, a parent, Mike Connor, objected to his stepdaughter visiting the mosque, claiming that the teacher was pushing Islamic tolerance. The complaint started a chain of events that culminated in the school canceling of traditional field trip indefinitely. At Hendersonville, the objection was framed as one of equality among religions tradition. The call for equality among tradition was kind of poisonous in a sense, and this is not time to discuss that, but this is an incident that shows also the reaction of people to a certain incident, but it was innocent part of academic course as a field trip, as we all do in academic courses. The reaction to that was different. It was multiple reaction coming from different institutions, but there's a book, Finding a Common Ground, was a result of reaction to the situation and trying to rectify it. The author of that book, the teaching think and maintain the idea that teaching religion seriously across the curriculum does not mean taking on another set of topics, which means that you don't have to introduce a new subject into curriculum of high school or schools in pre-high school, K to 12, but you can manipulate and use already existing materials in the curriculum to introduce religion through them. They think it means integrating information about religious perspective into the discussion of subjects and topics already taught in the curriculum, teaching about religion that honors diversity and belief and worship. They take the social science, which means history and other subjects related to social sciences, to teach them, but integrate religion and religious perspective into them, but you don't have to create a new subject of study. John Signaler, which is the founder of the First Amendment Institute, wrote an introduction to that book, Finding Common Ground, before 9/11. But when he wrote the introduction again to the Finding Common Ground after 9/11, he found it appropriate and relevant to quote exactly the same 3 paragraphs he wrote before 5/11, which illustrate and highlight the ideas in the minds of people concerned about not teaching, not being aware of other religions. In those paragraphs, he said, almost weekly now, US citizens read in newspapers or see on television reports of Muslim terrorist threats or attacks aimed at some enemy of Islam. That was before 9/11, and we know, of course, the incidents that were happening in the world at that time. He said also, The news media drumbeat has led many of us to the false impression that the Muslim faith is a religion built on a foundation of violence and fanaticism. Nowhere have most of us been taught about the history of Islam or what Muslims today actually believe. We know little about the vision of Muhammad in 610 that began with a revelation known as the Quran, accepted by millions of Muslims throughout the world as the word of Allah or God. We are unaware that it is from this experience that the faith of Islam has its beginning. He continued to say, more than 1,300 years later, American school children who read and hear about the growing influence of Islamic world on our lives learn very little about the Prophet Muhammad or the religious tradition of Muslims. His comment was related, he said that before 9/11, but of course, after 9/11, he laments that what he said before 9/11 was true. And now lack of information breeds this violence, this, I don't know what to describe it. One of the most important areas of agreement concerning agreement concerns the importance of teaching about religion as distinguished from the religious indoctrination in the curriculum, that the curriculum was put for that. One important areas, the guidelines issued by the 18 major organizations explaining the study about religion is not only constitutional, but also an important part of a good education. So it's not seen from a faith point of view, it's seen from a good education. What a good education is. If you're not aware of the other people's religions and don't have respect for them, this is a kind of education that's missing something. Because religion plays a significant role in history and society, a study about religion is essential to understanding both the nation and the world. Omission of facts about religion can give students the false impression that the religion or the religious life of humankind is insignificant or unimportant. Failure to understand even the basic symbols, practices, and concepts of the various religions makes much of history, literature, art, and contemporary life unintelligible. Study about religion is also important if students are to value religion liberty, the first freedom guaranteed in the Bill of Rights. Moreover, knowledge of the role of religion in the past and the present promotes cross-cultural understanding essential to democracy and world peace. Teaching world religion in faith-based school is a question big we have to really address. We have the public education and we have faith-based school. And faith-based school, we have the Christian schools and Jewish schools. They face the dilemma now in the midst of globalization and diversity in religion and ethnic groups coming to those schools. Then we have to really review the curriculum and the situation they face now in the midst of that. We aim at creating a world citizenship, a citizen of the world. The to borrow an old expression, the world is becoming a small village. The digital divide has been kind of broken one after the other. We are becoming closer and closer. So the citizen of today is the citizen of the world. And the world is much bigger and diverse than our local and our small circles in which we move. In order for such a global peace system to be created and its operation be just and effective, the world's religion need to build on necessary foundation for it through teaching about world community, world citizenship, universal brother and sisterhood. They need to emphasize their ancient vision of the golden rule. And the golden rule, uh, it's repeated in every religion, every faith. And by finding the roots of golden rule, I find it goes back to ancient Egypt. Do to do to others what you want others to do to you. It goes back to the story of the eloquent peasant story when he was expressing his dilemma, and but it's repeated in every faith and every religion, in every book, and it acquired its name, Golden Rules, Golden Rule, and the modern teaching of the Declaration of Global Ethic and the Charter of Compassion that have been part of the Parliament of the World Religion. By reviewing that Charter of Parliament of the World Religion, we can find so many dreams, but to realize those dreams, we have to really put them in action, to put them in consideration and put them in curriculum for teaching in schools so our children can grow up with open-mindedness to accept what we talk about today. We are fortunate to talk about it among ourselves, and we are fortunate to be educated and open-minded enough to consider that, but we are not kind of really doing enough to make others, to widen the perspective. We have our congregations, we can preach the convert because they already agree with us in our point of view, but I think our message has to spread wider and go beyond the level, though we don't want to continue doing that to our congregation only, but we have to find ways in which we can be more effective, and we can be more effective if we do work with the politicians and educational organizations to implement that in our curriculum and take it seriously. I have a word about Muslim and Islamic schools. Years ago, and I think in the 90s, I was asked to be a consultant of to review social studies books to see how Islam is represented in the books, in these books. After the finding common ground was put into effect, it affected the textbooks, but we focus on looking at how we are represented in these books. But when I ask in Islamic schools or Jewish schools or Catholic schools or Christian schools in general, if they do present other faiths in the same fairness and the same way that we are keen to find how others, what's our image in other people's views, we are not really keen into accommodating and including others in our curriculum. I just would like to call on people in faith-based school to consider including in their curriculum other faith and objectively as it should be. And that would be my contribution to today's talk. And thank you very much for listening, and hope inshallah I'll benefit from your comments.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Mohammed Issa. That was absolutely brilliant. And I love your focus on education, and we have to go about it in the right way so that we help young people to understand the best way and to understand the other communities with which they live, so that we can all build that kind of common foundation together, and how vital that is. And your emphasis on the golden rule too, which is something which I've often drawn attention to myself. And it is fascinating that this is something which we do find in every single religion on the earth. You know, a lot of people make, I mean, today we're focused on the Abrahamic traditions, but it's in all of them. It's remarkable. So thank you very much. We really appreciate your contribution.